Hey everybody, how are you doing? This is Emil Fanaf here at in Beira Mar, Florianopolis, Brazil, where I live at the moment, and enjoying a nice walk on Beira Mar. A friend of mine, Tom. Hello, Tom. You know where you're at in Mexico now. And some other people over the years have encouraged me to produce more content. I thought I would produce a video here, hopefully not too long, of how to make scholarship money for university studies. So this is something that I haven't been a university student for a while now, but this is something that I could say I have something to say about. I was very successful in winning quite a few scholarships when I was a university student. Including a couple of them, for what it's worth, nationally competitive awards, despite the fact that I was a good student. I worked hard, was highly motivated, but I rarely had a 4.0. So how does someone? And I didn't go to some Ivy League or whatever. I went to for my first couple degrees. I went to University of Arkansas, which is not Ivy League, but despite that, they gave little old me nationally competitive awards. So I'll tell you sort of how I went about becoming pretty good winning scholarship money. So maybe this can be helpful for your friends and family if you want to share this video. Hint, hint. All right, so I think the first way to think about it is to think about in terms of demographics, which demographics you fit. Because quite frankly, scholarships are formed in this way. So you have to think about, okay, which scholarships would I have a higher probability of actually winning, right? So in terms of demographics, socioeconomic. So literally there are scholarships that exist for women with children, or how do you say, single mothers, for example. There exists single mother scholarships. That's a demographic. That's something you have going for you if you fit this category. Another would be, let's say, you could say racial minority. If you're African American, if you're Latino, something like this. There exist scholarships literally for this category. If you are a veteran, in my own case, I'll talk about this later, there were no scholarships for veterans when I was a university student, but we sort of ended up creating it as a category of scholarships that ended up existing at my home university. So think of which demographics you fit. Another is alumni. That's one I can think of at the moment. Non-traditional student. That's another demographic. So non-traditional student usually means something like maybe over the age of 25 or 20-something, being a first-generation college student, living off campus, maybe having been in the military, so veteran again. These are different things that your university might use, different criteria that your university might use to consider you a non-traditional student. So that's the demographic part. The next thing to think about is types of scholarships. So in general, most scholarships, probably all, can fit into two main categories, and that's the first is merit-based and the other is needs-based. So as these terms suggest, merit-based basically means what you offer in terms of your really good grades so far, your academic transcript, what you offer in terms of your CV, your life experiences, maybe some hardships that you've struggled with if you escaped North Korea or something, and despite all that you still have accomplished some things, that's some merit right there. And actually that latter thing would cross over into the other category, which is needs-based. So needs-based is usually just as it suggests, that you don't have all the money. to pay for your schooling. So there exists, don't worry, there exists plenty of scholarships just for people who have a need. So consider that. So lots of traffic here. Where are we at? Okay, so now how to find scholarships that you might qualify for. How do you find them? I usually suggest two main things. I mean, I've done internet searches too, just like everybody, but I wasn't most successful in finding scholarship money by internet searches. It usually involved a combination of literally me, Ford Mustang. Okay, so finding the scholarships. I was most successful usually me physically dropping in offices around my university and getting on mailing lists of these various offices. That's the first thing. And the second, I'll come back to the second because I forgot it. Sorry. All right, so when you drop into these offices, what kind of offices do I mean? So, for example, there exists a scholarships office, probably at every university, I would assume, at least at universities. Maybe not community colleges, but anyway, just find the equivalent at wherever you're studying. So, when I was a young undergraduate, the first thing I did when I went to the University of Arkansas is I popped into the the scholarships office. Presented myself, told them about my goals, and that kind of thing. Found out they had a mailing list, got on the mailing list, so I was able to learn about new scholarship opportunities as they became available. But not all scholarships of a university go through the scholarships office. Sometimes they're just handled independently in-house between the various departments. So, next, I was, excuse me, studying abroad was a big, hugely important thing to me as a undergraduate at the time. So I went to the study abroad office, popped my head in, excuse me, presented myself, told them what I was interested in doing, asked if they had any scholarships. As it turned out, they had several. So, for example, they had scholarships for students that wanted to study abroad in an Arabic-speaking country to learn Arabic. They had scholarships for people that were willing and interested in taking upper-level Spanish and French. They had the same thing for less commonly spoken languages in the U.S. at least. Portuguese being one of them. I ended up winning a Harley Davidson. Okay. Anyway, I think. Where was I? I got some beach volleyball over here. Yeah. Okay. So, it was through my visit to the study abroad office that I learned about one study abroad scholarship that I applied for and later won, that paid for my studies in Brazil for a year, for the first time I studied in Brazil. So that's that. Other offices you would want to pop into would be the Alumni Association, even if you're not alum yet. I ended up winning an Alumni Association scholarship. It was a needs-based one, that one, even though I wasn't alum yet. Another one, the Sam Walton College of Business. None of my degrees came from the Sam Walton College of Business, but I did take classes at the Sam Walton College of Business. And I ended up winning another study abroad scholarship through the Sam Walton College of Business. And that I was able to get that one as a direct result of some research I had done during the first time I had studied abroad in Brazil. So let's see, what other offices? The Multicultural Center. I won a scholarship from the Multicultural Center, despite the fact that you wouldn't think that a white male would. They paid for a book. They were kind enough to award me a book scholarship, so I got a book from them. What else? Let's see. The Office of Non-Traditional Students. I was I forgot how old I was at the time. I was 25 when I applied for a scholarship from the Office of Non-Traditional Students, I think they called it, at the University of Arkansas. So I was on their mailing list. They advertised a food scholarship, I think it was, for a meal scholarship. It was a meal if you wanted to get your meals paid for a semester. I applied for that, qualified for it based on what was it, being above a certain age, having a financial need, and that kind of thing. And there you go, I got one there. All right, so that's how to find them. Another thing is that if you don't qualify for any scholarships, don't hesitate to, let's say, mobilize people if you find like-minded people or people in a similar demographic, and literally going to people that might be sympathetic, that hold the keys towards scholarship money, and making your case as to why it might be in their own interest to create a scholarship for people of the demographic that you fit. So what I mean by that is, so for example, there weren't any scholarships for student veterans when I was an undergraduate student, and so I was president of a student organization for veterans at the registered student organization, as they call it. I had in my head that I was going to mobilize the student organization and make scholarships our main cause, and so I did. Our vice president at the time is Florianopolis, Floripa. So the vice president of the registered student organization and I, we co-authored a request for funds. I don't remember what we called it, but we'll call it request for funds. We found sympathetic people around campus that said, yeah, you should create you should get some scholarships created for student veterans. That's something we think the university might be sympathetic to hearing and supporting. So, by a fantastic way of introduction, I don't know if that individual wants to be named, so only for that reason I won't name them, but I was able to get an appointment with the head, I think it was the head of development at the University of Arkansas. So we met there. This was back, I don't know, 2010 or something, 2009, 2008, I think. Anyway, so we proposed, we said, hey, yes, it's true that there's a GI Bill that exists for student veterans. There is money already, but it doesn't usually pay for the cost of living, or all of the cost of living, you could say, in addition to paying for the tuition. So, as it turned out, the University of Arkansas was fantastically open to hearing about this. They created a scholarship as we requested, and as it just, how do you say, by enormous coincidence, I think coincidence, is right around the same time the Pat Tillman Foundation learned what the University of Arkansas had done for veteran scholarships, and they said, hey, we want to do the same, and we want to partner with the University of Arkansas. So that led to really nice funding rounds, both from the University of Arkansas and then from the Pat Tillman Foundation. So got the ocean over here, so you probably hear that. Anyway, so yeah, in this case, as a, you could say, white male, I didn't fit, the scholarships that exist for minorities. I didn't qualify for, single mom scholarship demographics. But I was veteran as a category, as a demographic, and I said, I think we can use this. It doesn't exist there don't exist scholarships yet at this university where I was, but I think I can make the case, and I think people would listen, and they did, right? So the point here is not that, hey, look what I did. The point here is that, hey, I know this is possible. So think about how you could apply exactly the same thing, if you want. Next thing is, I'll say, next advice I could have is that if you in fact get a rejection from your university or from whoever it is that grants the scholarship, don't hesitate to ask them why didn't I win. If you go in the politest way possible, but let's say that you knew that you fit the category of this. You knew that you had fantastic grades. You knew that you argued in your application, whatever essay they asked you to write. You knew that you wrote down exactly what you think, and you were sincere. And these are my life goals, and here's how this scholarship actually matches with my life goals. If you know you nailed it and still didn't win, don't worry, it's not personal. They probably picked someone else who, fit it really well too. But don't let that stop you from popping in to the office or contacting them by email if they're distant from you, and just asking, hey, why didn't I win? So this has happened with me before, where I didn't win, where I did not win an academic award. But then I went back to them later and I asked, hey, why didn't I win this? And then later I got an email, sort of a reversal of the previous email saying, congratulations. and then you do win. So I've been in that situation before. I also know a guy that he was in the Army. He was based in Afghanistan. He applied for full funding for a master's degree in political science. They initially told him no. He didn't win, and then he went and just popped in their office as sort of the alpha male that he was and said, why not? Why didn't I win? And they went back and and they said, all right, look, okay, yeah, you win. We'll give you the scholarship, but it's going to be conditional for your first year. For your first year, you can't make anything below an A. You have to make all A's. I think that's what it was. And he's just made sure that he continued to fit that. Lovely day, lovely day. I couldn't be happier. So anyway, these are two cases, my case and his case, in which we first initially got a rejection letter. Then we went back and said, well, why not? And then they came back and said, okay, and still gave it to us. And I think probably the final advice, which is related to this previous advice, is that if you get an affirmative, if you get a congratulations, you win, but then later you learn that, or maybe they said yes, but they didn't give you all of the scholarship money that you know you need to make it happen, and you're not willing to go in debt, more grant money or some more financial debt, if you don't want to do that, and I would suggest you avoid that as much as possible, of course, the debt side of things, is go back and say, look, if you have a fantastic case, maybe they need you for some help you're going to be doing for some professor or something like that, and especially if you have, let's say, multiple things going for you at the same time. So for example, the second time I studied in Brazil, I won't mention the name of the professor, but if he's watching this, hello. But this was literally the case, is that I won scholarship money to go back to Brazil and study with this professor. I knew I could be a big help on the study abroad program, and simultaneously there was an internship, a very competitive internship that I had applied for exactly the same summer, and that internship would have paid me some decent money and would have looked really good on a CV. But the scholarship, which I preferred to do this, study abroad in Brazil a second time, it wasn't going to pay for all the costs. And so, I just argued the case. I said, look, this is the case. It's just that I prefer to go with you to Brazil, back to Brazil, but in this case, it'll cost me money. Meanwhile, if I go with the other option, with the internship, it'll pay me good money. and looks really good on a CV and could lead to a potential job, a job. So is there any way you could look at this? And you have to be willing to walk away. So what I said was, if I'm unable to get an increase in this scholarship, I have to decline. Not my preference, but that's just the reality of my financial situation. And in this particular case, the department was able to make it happen. So they increased the scholarship money that they had initially awarded me. In another case, when I studied abroad in Brazil the first time for a year, I remember the study abroad program website advertised a certain price. This is the price that you pay for a year-long study abroad, which is over 2 semesters, right? So I went to Brazil thinking, all right, those are my costs of the tuition and living, because it included living. Meanwhile, once I arrived there during the summer months of North American southern summer month, like June, July, I only learned once I was in Brazil. It wasn't my fault, because this is just the way it was advertised on the website. Is I only learned while I was there was that when they say year-long study abroad, 2 semesters, what they meant by that was they expected, I guess, that the students fly back to the United States for the 2 months between 3 months between semesters, right? But that wasn't on the website that I saw, and so suddenly my costs were a lot higher. I didn't want to go back to the U.S. I would have had flight costs, and I was a poor student at the time, so I went back to the organization that had already agreed to pay for my costs for the year-long study abroad, and I said, not my fault, very sorry here. I don't know why this isn't advertised on the program's website, but they didn't tell me that they're not going to pay for these couple months between semesters. They advertised it as a year long. So long story short, I needed more financial support. Made the case, and the scholarship organization, they said, okay, all right, fair enough, we'll give you more money. So they gave me, I think it was $4,000 more for those additional months. So I've done this again and again. I've probably done that 4 times. I've probably at least 4 different scholarships that I've won where they initially told me, yes, you win, but you get this much money. And then I learn about more costs later, or frankly, that amount of money that they said yes to is a deal breaker based on my other opportunities. And then I go back and negotiate, and then they give me this, more. So don't hesitate to renegotiate and have multiple opportunities going for you at the same time, so you can, in the nicest way possible, not like a hustler, but you can put these opportunities up against each other as leverage in a kind way, and see if you can get other people negotiating to have you as a part of their program, because you're an asset, right? Cool. So hope this was helpful. Hope you enjoyed the scenery, my lovely island that I live on, and good luck. Hope you win some scholarship money. Cheers.